I've heard the question asked, so I want to address it. Why didn't the incarnation happen when we have modern technology, like in the 20th or the 21st century, basically our day? Why is it that the incarnation happened at a time? Granted, it was a good time because the Roman Empire centralized a lot of things and helped knowledge and helped ideologies spread quickly, at least in the West. So it was a good time, but why not the best time? Why not now when we could record his words, when we could have him on camera, when he could be interviewed on the talk shows, and all the things that go with the society that we have today? And I would say there's several answers to that. There's one that you might not have thought of, and I want to save that one to the last. But I will say a part of it may just be God's mercy, because we know there is going to be a time when God is going to make his reality unavoidable. And it speaks about that in Revelation. And then it'll say, men are going to say, rocks, please fall on us and hide us. We don't want to face his wrath. So they're not interested in repenting, even though it's obvious God is true. And I think there's people like that today. There always have been. They're getting bolder and more reckless now, but they always exist. And God is merciful even to those that he eventually is going to cast into hell because they wouldn't have it any other way. So he's giving them this time called our life to become who they eternally are and want to be. This is a temporal realm, and it's sort of practice for the permanent realm. And they don't want him to be true. They don't want to have a father. They don't want to be accountable. They don't want to be obligated. They don't want to have to pour themselves out in love for others. Not really. And this is what God requires us to do. To them, that love is smothering, and they want nothing to do with it. And if he made his reality too apparent, it wouldn't convert them. It would just make them angrier. And I've found this throughout my life. I used to believe, well, I'm telling someone the truth here, and it's not working. They're not getting it. I used to think it's me. I just need to be better at telling the truth. I need to say it more succinctly, more powerfully. I need to be better at it than I am. And I came to realize that wasn't the case at all. That, in fact, the clearer and the better I got at it, the angrier it made people who simply didn't want the truth. And so I think some of it could just be God's mercy. That could be one good reason why he came at a time when knowledge could spread quickly, the faith could spread quickly, and that there were plenty of souls to be harvested. But it's not like he could cause a miracle, and due to the miracle of television, it could be live in everyone's living rooms. And the second thing is, look what our media is capable of. So that was one reason. But the other reason is technological power also gives dishonest people more power, especially if they're at the top, which they always tend to be in this upside down kingdoms of this world sort of realm. You know, they're on top. But in his day, all they could do is have paid mouthpieces to go and spread lies like everyone else. Everyone else, they just have one mouth. But what mass media gives the deceivers the power to do is to tell everyone, and they have the biggest platforms for themselves because these are the people that have sort of elbowed their way to the top, and they're going to use those platforms. And I would say there's a real tilt against the truth. Big media doesn't mean better information gets out. It means the information that the establishment wants gets out. And I have a saying, I call it Moore's media maximum, that the establishment media does not exist to inform the public. The establishment media exists to protect the establishment. And Jesus was the kind of king, he made all the kings of this world look bad because he was serving others. They were demanding others serve them. And for many reasons, he was the king that made the other kings look bad. And as the centuries went on, some kings sincerely believed in him. Other kings feigned like they did because all of their subjects believed it. And if they didn't at least pretend to believe it too, then their subjects would not trust them and be loyal to them. And they wanted their subjects to trust them and be loyal to them so they could use them. And so I really think in the modern media age, if they powers that be don't like you, they can tell a lot of lies about you fast. It actually amplifies the power of the bad guys. But the people of faith are even going to overcome that. Jesus said, you're going to do greater works. We're even going to do greater works. When they use the power of the media to amplify lies and disinformation, and many of it will come from people who are ostensibly religious. They will slander God's people. And I think that we will overcome even that. So that's one aspect. But let's talk about this second aspect. And this is the one you might not have thought of. Here is my second point. And it's one that is not obvious. But the question itself, the question of why didn't Jesus come now when we have this wonderful technology and the power to record his words and all that, when we have the freedom of speech to spread his word. I would submit to you that the question itself presumes that all those things would have happened anyway, even if he did not incarnate. And I don't believe that for 1 second. I do not think we would have the modern technological society we have with human liberty that we have, that honestly, all of those things, both the technological advancement and the political liberty, have their roots in the West. They have their roots in the very nations that accepted the gospel. After a few centuries of being sort of submerged in the gospel, we have technology, we have civilization, we have political liberty. So the question presumes we'd have all these things even if Jesus had not come. I don't believe that's true. You look at the nations where those good things came from, those were the nations whose people followed him. I have a couple more videos which I would like you to look at if you're interested in, because I'm saying that even civilization itself probably would not have happened on its own. I've got one that says the historical Adam is not who you think he is, and I'll drop links to these in the description of the video. But I believe Adam was not the sole father of the human race. There's nowhere in the scripture that claims that that is his role. Rather, he's a figure of Christ, Romans 5:14. And so he has a historical role, all right. He was a historical figure, but it's not the sole founder of the human race. He came after there were already people here. He was formed after there were already people here. And he had a role in advancing civilization, and the reverberations for that echo to this day. And we can trace back the beginnings of civilization to the time and place where it seems to me, and that's what I teach in the Christ-centered model, that Adam came from. In addition, there are, these ancient alien hypotheses. Oh, aliens came to Earth and gave human civilization a jump start. Well, I don't believe that, but I don't think that Adam was the only attempt or the only interaction where God intervened in humanity to help bring civilization to this point where we could get to the point where the incarnation would matter. And at the earliest point possible, granted our sinfulness, granted how messed up we are, I believe that's when the incarnation came. Not before, but at the earliest point possible, to get the word out to human history, to preserve some record of it, to get us ready to where we could accept political liberty, be ready for science and technological advancement at the right time. So I encourage you to check out these two videos. that I have here concerning what I believe are signs of God's intervention throughout human history to bring humanity along. Adam being one stop in that process, and the incarnation being another. The incarnation making the advanced technological Western liberty type situation in society that we take for granted, making it possible. So the question of why didn't he wait till we had all this stuff to incarnate is based on the wrong premise. Without him, we'd never have it. Thank you for listening, and may God bless you.